Okay, so how was your weekend?
My weekend was good. We're here on a busy Monday morning in the spring real estate market. And so it was a little cuckoo. What about yours?
Continues to be crazy. So
Okay.
on the listing side, so we had a listing that we put on the market on Thursday. Loads of showings over the weekend. You did the open house yesterday. Offers came in. We're getting ready to meet with the seller to talk about which one we're going to accept, and that certainly still seems to be typical of what's going on in the market.
For sure.
And on the buyer side,
So on the buyer side at the open house, it was actually kind of funny because probably, I think I had 15 parties came in. And
which is good for a condo.
Which is good for a condo, right? For coming up the elevator and the whole thing.
It's in a building.
Like not great parking for that many people at the same time. But unrepresented buyers came in, and still 5 years into this market that's everything's highest and best, I say so flippantly, that I said, yes, we have offers on the table and they're reviewing them tomorrow. And the gasp of a lot of buyers still. And I said, I just clarified, yes. And they said, well, when did it go on the market? And I said, Friday.
Yep.
I thought it was Friday.
Maybe.
I don't even remember. But they were just like really looked at me like I was cuckoo.
So we're finding that the buyers out there who are unrepresented, they're not getting the proper advice.
They have no idea.
They think that they could just say, oh, I'll put in an offer of X. They don't need paperwork. They think they don't need paperwork. They don't need a pre-approval. They don't need to go through the process. And there is definitely a process both on the seller side and on the buyer side.
Yes.
So when we meet with our buyers, it's much more putting together a strategy with those buyers on how to secure a listing, how to be the one that comes up at the top of the list for those sellers who are out there, the few sellers who are out there.
Right.
Now, also on the selling side, we are starting to see things coming on the market. I won't say that the market is opening up, right?
No.
It's because there are still so many buyers out there, and we're still very much in a seller's market. So I won't say that it's opening up. I won't say that buyers could now expect to see 2 or 3 or 4 properties at a time. That's still not happening. But we are slowly but surely seeing some listings coming on for buyers to buy.
They are. Before the market was this way, when I would have a buyer's consultation with clients, something I learned early on. I don't know where I picked it up, somewhere in Keller Williams in one of our sessions, but you need to be prepared. You don't want to walk into your dream property and get a weak agent at a weak moment, right? You fall in love with something and now what, right? And so, but it goes so fast. I feel bad for the people that came yesterday, and a lot of them live in the building. They're waiting for a unit on the A side of the building to pop up. They had no idea, and now they're scrambling, and some are ready, some are not. Some have submitted, some are trying to submit. Highest and best was due an hour ago.
Yeah.
And
they're still scrambling.
And
they don't understand where the market is or where prices are going.
And it's too bad, but
It is what it is.
It is what it is. So what do you think of, what's your impression of people that just walk into an open house without an agent? And it's tough.
It's really tough because then they're starting at a point where they should have been at least a couple of weeks ago, at least 1 week ago, where they could have at least gotten a pre-approval letter or proof of funds, or they could have gotten paperwork together. But from a selling point of view, when we're looking at multiple offers, those are the last offers that we're going to look at. When we see offers come in. I know when you submit offers, when I have a listing, I know everything is just buttoned up. We have the proper information on the buyer. We know where they live. We know whether they have a property to sell. We know that they're either pre-approved or have proof of funds that they could show us. And that from a selling point of view, in my advice to the sellers, I know that there are agents out there who I prefer to work with because I know they have all their things buttoned up and they have the buyer's ducks in a row. So it's much more likely to get from an accepted offer to close the closing table. And that's really what a seller wants. They want it's not always about the highest number on the table. It's about better assurance on a deal.
So true. I mean, you don't have to be working with us. It'd be great if you were, but when you meet somebody and they just walked into the open, they clearly have missed all the education on where the market is, and it's tough to get to the closing table.
And when you say they miss the information on where the market is, we always advise that we're still at a point where something goes on the market, and it's not like, I'll call it the olden days. It's not like the olden days where something goes on the market and you see how much you could negotiate down off of it. When something goes on the market, that's the point at which people springboard off of. And the buyers need to figure out where they want to springboard up to. So when people come into an open house and they don't understand where the market is or what the market's been doing, those are the offers that are more likely to come in a very uncompetitive place, either number or terms or both.
Luckily, you and I we're used to this, and we know the right questions to ask. I mean, that when the buyers come into the open, like you asked me, when I'm presenting an offer, did you just meet them? You know what I mean? Like, these are the things, and not that that your high number, it's just the entire package of the offer and the confidence we have in assuring our sellers that this is going to make it to the closing table.
Right.
That's-
Sometimes people do come into the open house.
Absolutely.
And then right away they do want to sit down and meet and figure out what they need to do in
Right.
order to get things going.
Right.
And we'll go through the process with them. And sometimes that does work out beautifully.
Right.
Beautifully. I'm not
Right.
saying it doesn't. Sometimes it does. But it is important to be working with an agent that you have a good relationship with, that you trust, and that there is sort of a back and forth. The agent sometimes it is certain nationalities or ethnicities that feel like everything has to be kept close to their chest, and they don't want to share it. Well, guess what? Then it's not that we share everything with the seller when we have those buyers, but by the same token, there is a certain amount of information that is needed for a seller to feel comfortable that buyer can close.
I get it. How many multiple offers were you in on the buy side this weekend? Any?
We had one last week that we did secure. We were in a multiple offer on that one. We had another one two that came
this
together.
weekend?
Two last not this past weekend, but two last week that fortunately they both came together, which I'm really pleased about.
Congrats.
And they're really pleased about. Both in really good, strong buying positions, and both people who I've been in consultation with for a while.
Right.
So they understood where the market is. Although I have to say, what was different about them is for both of them, it was the first property that they had offered on.
Ooh, that's
And
a
that's
scary
really,
one.
because usually you have lots of times with buyers, they put in an offer, and the first couple of times when we explain to them how tough the market is, the first couple of times, sometimes they feel like they just can't quite get there. And then after they lose one or two, or sometimes 4 or 6 properties, then they say, okay, now we get it. We are now willing to do whatever it takes to get this property. Fortunately for me, both these buyers last week, it was first time out. We had a really good consultation. They were both really strong buyers and basically did what they needed to do to get the property. So
That's great.
It was great.
That's great.
Really unusual.
This weekend I'm in 2 right now, and I call this multiple offer Monday. So
Yeah.
everything's been submitted. So we gave it our best.
Great.
We gave it our best.
That is
Luckily, one couple, this is number 5.
Wow.
And the other couple, this is number 1. So
Okay.
we'll see.
Good luck-
We'll
good luck
see
with
where the
that.
cards fall.
It is funny how you do feel like you gave it your best. And
Yeah.
Lots of times with the buyers, they really do have to get to the point where they do give it their best. And then if they lose it, they're not so sorry about it because they really did give it their best. They couldn't have gone higher, or they didn't want to go higher, or they felt, you know what, if somebody else wanted to do X or pay more or something like that, they feel like, okay, it just is what it is, and I'm good where I was.
Yeah.
So good luck on those offers.
Thank you.
Can't wait to hear more.
Yeah.